hello, hello. So, if you guys have been watching my videos that I've been making about the documents that were released by Moscow Police Department, we put out 3 videos so far, essentially summarizing the ones that I thought that were interesting and basically just kind of like going through the documents and reading some of the excerpts that I thought that were, again, interesting. And so what I want to do for today's stream is I want to actually read the documents to you guys fully, because usually what I do is I'll read the documents first, and then we usually cut up the stream, and then we make like videos out of it. But for this one, I felt like for quality of videos, it would be better if I just kind of made a video, and then I could just read the documents to you guys afterwards. And then, we can just go through them together. I know I saw that Bose did a video. I wonder if there's a video out there that just basically just has all the videos together, but no commentary. That way I could watch it with you guys. Sorry, we're talking about the psychiatrist who was, or not the psychiatrist, the woman that thought her psychiatrist was in love with her and she started stalking him or something in the Twitch chat. So what I normally do is I will start my stream in the Twitch chat, just do a little bit quick, talk over there, and then I hop over to the YouTube. But hi, Tracy. Hey, everybody. How are you doing today? Hey, Morton. Hello, hello. Hi, Joe. It's not really story time. I'm not going to be telling a story. I'm just going to be watching it with you guys, because I feel like if I watched it on my own, I don't know, we might be going crazy. Is that her username? Kendrality on TikTok? Hi, Alfred. How are you doing today? How's it going? But ever since you guys were talking about those videos, it started popping up on my YouTube. So I see a lot of people are reacting to it now. I'm like, oh gosh, man, do I really want to watch this? Do I really want to go down this rabbit hole? Alfred, hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? Hello, hello. So yeah, I think today we're just going to read some of the documents. I was going to do a coverage of Corey Richard's hearing, but when I did a summary of the transcript, it seems like it was just a lot of like the bulk of it was just talking about scheduling and figuring things out before the trial starts and then the jury selection and all that stuff. So I was like, maybe I'll just do a short video on it, or maybe we could just watch it later on. But I think it'd be more interesting to cover the Moscow PD doc. So again, like I did a video summarizing these documents, but I didn't go through and read all of them line by line. Instead, that's what we're going to be doing on today's stream. Watch party. Hi, Christine. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello. What's everyone been up to? I'm trying to figure out my lighting situation here. I've been trying to watch lighting videos for YouTube, but I just feel like I don't have it figured out. I bought this giant light here, but I feel like it just looks the same as my other stream as before. So I need to figure it out. Oh, and then also I told you guys that we had access to like some of the Sarah Boone files. I haven't gone through those yet. Let's go down the rabbit hole. I'll think about it. I don't know. Oh gosh, I don't know if I can handle it on stream. What if I don't know. You look brighter and lighter than before. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what angles I have to set these lights at, and then if I need to, I don't know. I just don't know how to do it. But you know how like when you watch some people on YouTube and they got their lighting like set up like really, it's like really good lighting setup. It's where like half their face is a little bit dark and the other half is like kind of lit up, but then it looks so dark and mysterious. I don't know. I was trying to do that setup, but we're not nailing it here. It's a little bit tough. Hi, Erin. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello, hello. Man, it feels kind of hot in my room right now too. Also, I redid my computer setup right now, so I kind of regret it because the way my computer is set up right now, the hot air fan blows on my leg, and I don't like it. But I can't turn my computer the other way, otherwise the cords and all that stuff will be facing outwards. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just ranting here. We're just ranting right now. Lady says, hi, Joe. So we're going to read the documents, and I think today we're mostly just going to get over the witnesses' statements and then the crime scene descriptions. So I don't know if you guys have been following around with this case, but documents are being released. People are, asking for, requesting for additional documents. And I think they released some of the crime scene photos so far. In the crime scene photos, you don't really see too much. I think there's like there's one picture that I think is Xana's room, and there is someone blurred out. I'm assuming maybe it's Ethan. But I haven't really seen too much of the crime scene docs, just whatever pops up on the YouTube thumbnails. Hey, what's up? Hello, hello. So I want to start off with reading the narrative that was, I think this is from one of the detectives, not the lead detectives. This is from one of the detectives named Spillman. We're going to hop on over here. I'm going to zoom in for you guys. What? You got even lighter, says brighter. You're bordering on K-pop lighting now. It's because the screen is white because of the brightness from this document. That's why. I don't know. There's a lot of figuring out to do. Lots of figuring it out to do. All right, so this is a law incident table from Moscow PD. And again, the person that filed this, I think their name is Spillman. I don't know what their first name is. I don't see it somewhere on here. I'm guessing it's a Detective Spillman. I missed what you said about your skin. Oh, it's the lighting in the camera, I think. But next week, I'm going to do my skin acne treatment again. And usually it's very bloody. And then you get really bruised up afterwards. Like, I don't know, man. What they essentially traumatize the shit out of your skin. So that way your skin like goes into this like healing mode and then like produces more collagen. I don't fucking know, dude. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully it could I just wanted to treat all like the pinkness and the redness I get from all the acne. That way we don't have to wear foundation. That's a goal right there. No foundation. Because I don't want to wear foundation anymore. Okay, I'm fucking annoyed of foundation. But I don't know if that will be the end goal though. I don't know if we'll reach that, but we'll see. We'll try. All right, so this is one of the documents that I covered in the videos. I covered it in the first video. Essentially, this talks about the crime scene, and I think we get into some of the descriptions from the witnesses. Mainly the surviving roommates at 1122 King Road. So here's the narrative. On 11/13/22 at approximately 11:56 hours, MPD officers responded to an unconscious call. Yeah, because remember initially when we initially heard about the 911 call, a lot of us were really confused as to why Xana was being described as an unconscious person, when we all know that this crime scene would probably be very gory, very violent because it was, a stabbing. The RP, later identified as BF, reported her roommate was passed out, not conscious, and not breathing. As I was preparing to leave the station, Officer Nunez, who was already on the scene, advised of a likely homicide and asked for additional units. While I was en route, Officer Nunez advised he had located 2 additional victims. The victims were later identified as Kaylee J. Gonzalez, Ethan J. Chapin, Xana A. Kernoodle, and Madison M. Mogan. Moscow EMS was asked to stage and not respond to the scene unless requested. Hi, Alice. Hello. How's it going? What's new with you? Upon arrival, I saw HJ. I'm assuming that's Hunter. Crouching near the entrance to 1122 King Road. Jay was in obvious emotional distress. I entered the first floor door, which faces north towards the parking lot. I announced myself as a Moscow police officer and heard Officer Nunez and Warner respond from upstairs. When I got to the second floor, I saw a female covered in blood in the bedroom on the northwest side of the second floor. I believe this female to be Xana. I looked inside the bedroom Xana was laying, and it was obvious an intense struggle had occurred. So these are the crime scene photos that we've seen so far of Xana's bedroom. And then you could see the bedside table that's been shifted. And then you could see the details of the crime scene. Xana was obviously deceased. There was a blood smeared on various items in the room and all over the floor. There was a blood cast off on the walls in various places, including above Xana's body. Xana was on her back on the floor in the center of the room with her head towards the west. Xana was in her underwear and a long sleeve gray shirt. Both her shirt and underwear were covered in blood. Xana's face and body were covered in dried blood, and I could see what happened to be defensive knife wounds on Xana's hands. There was a deep gash on Xana's left hand between her pointer finger and thumb. A partially covered male was on the bed and also, obviously, deceased. I believe this male to be Ethan. The midsection of Ethan's body was covered with a blanket. Ethan's head wasn't visible. It appeared to be between the bed and the south wall. There was some blood cast off in what appeared to be arterial blood spray above where Ethan's head was located. I proceeded upstairs to the third floor where I met Officer Nunez and Warner. Oh, new to your channel. Love it. I'm well. Hope you are well as well. Oh, thank you so much, Alice. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the live stream. We're basically just reading the documents that I covered in the videos. However, in the videos, I didn't read all the documents from, top to bottom. So that's basically what we're doing right now on today's stream. Thanks for joining us. Oh, also, when I was reading these documents, I started realizing that it seems like Xana was also putting up a fight as well. Because before, when we heard about, these documents, a lot of us were thinking Kaylee was the one who was able to put up a fight against Brian Koberger, because Kaylee's family disclosed that Kaylee had these horrible wounds to her face, as if she was trying to fight him off, and he was trying to do anything he can to take her down. But when we read these documents, we find out that it was also Xana as well that seems to also to have tried to fight off her attacker, Brian Koberger. Nunes and Warner advised the residence was clear of any additional people. There was a dog belonging to Kaylee in the third floor west bedroom, which has access to the third floor deck. The deck has no exterior access to the ground level. I asked Corporal, I think it's Corporal, right? Snyder to cordon off the area and Officer Nunes to start identifying the subjects that were on the scene when he arrived. I asked Officer Warner to start a crime scene log at the front entrance. Once Officer Smith arrived on the scene, I asked him to stand guard at the kitchen sliding door, which I later learned was ajar upon our arrival. I wonder if the door was left open because... I guess I would assume the door was left open because maybe Brian Koberger left it open, or maybe it was left open from another officer going through the crime scene, maybe. Because from my understanding, it seems like the friends that were called over came over through the front floor entrance, which is the same ground floor as Bethany's bedroom. The kitchen sliding door, however, is considered on the second floor. On the third floor, I went to the southeast bedroom where Officer Nunes and Warner advised they found two females, whom I believe to be Kaylee and Madison. Both females were obviously deceased. I observed Kaylee lying on the north side of the bed and Madison lying on the south side of the bed with their heads towards the east. Kaylee and Madison were covered by a pink blanket, which was covered in blood. There was a large pool of blood near Kaylee's midsection. There was blood cast off on the east and north walls above Kaylee and Madison. Madison appeared to be laying up against Kaylee. Madison had what appeared to be wounds to her forearm and hands. Madison had a gash under her right eye, which appeared to be from the corner of her eye to her nose. Kaylee was unrecognizable, as her facial structure was extremely damaged. I asked Officer Nunes to close the door to the bedroom so the dog did not try to disturb the scene. Other than that action, MPD patrol officers left the scene as it was found. I was later confirmed with Officer Nunes that no EMS personnel entered prior to my arrival. Sorry, there's some grammatical errors here and there. I contacted Captain Barrett and advised him of the situation. Captain Barrett said he would activate detectives and get more resources en route. Once Detective Sergeant Lawrence arrived on the scene, he requested one of the responding patrol officers begin writing a search warrant, which was assigned to Officer Nunes. Corporal Snyder was assigned to take initial photos of the scene, while Officer Smith and Warner remained as security at both entrances. I collected the dog from the third floor and took it outside. LCSO deputy, maybe? Olson transferred the dog to the Humane Society on my behalf. And then a lot of us were also wondering if Murphy was with Maddie and Kaylee during the attack, and then would Murphy had blood all over him. But we find out later on in some other documents that it seems like Murphy would just go sleep in Kaylee's bedroom, and so the attack happened in Maddie's bedroom. So I don't know if Murphy was just like really scared, didn't want to go back to that room, or if he just had, a habit of just sleeping in Kaylee's bedroom, even though the girls were sleeping in Maddie's bedroom. I don't know. I feel like Murphy would still follow his owner. So Murphy probably was just like really scared. Officer Nunes was interviewing a large group of individuals who were associated with the residents. Officer Nunes and asked that I finish getting contact information for the individuals. I contacted and later added the following names to the call. So we have the roommates, BF, DM, and then the friends that were called over. And I'm not too sure who the rest are. Maybe like some significant others, close friends, family members. I'm going to hop on over to some of the narratives that were given by the surviving roommates. Let's see. Document number 3. I'll zoom in for you guys in case you guys want to read along. Hey, 12 Gauge, how are you doing today? Hello, hello. Hi, chat. What's up? How are you? Here's another description of the crime scene. I was directed to the bedroom on the second floor by, I think, Hunter Johnson in the northwest corner to locate the unresponsive female. Upon entering the room, I observed a female laying supine on the floor next to a bed. According to DM, which is one of the surviving roommates, This female was likely Kaylee J. Gonzalez. Later on, there is going to be a correction. She's not describing Kaylee. Actually, she's describing Xana. Dylan also lived at 1122 King Road. I observed dried blood surrounding Kaylee's body and signs of cutting trauma to her face. I'm just going to correct him to say Xana. Xana was covered in so much blood, I wasn't able to immediately discern where any additional injuries would have likely been. Xana was also apparently deceased due to her pale skin, rigid body tone, and apparent blood loss. On the bed in the same room, I observed Kaylee. I observed a male laying supine on the bed. According to Dylan, the male was likely Ethan Chapin. Dylan said Ethan was commonly at the residence. I observed blood covering portions of Ethan's legs, surrounding his body into the bedsheets, and drops of blood on the wall near Ethan's head. As I backed out of this room, Hunter showed me a kitchen knife and said he had it in his possession. I told Hunter to leave the knife and go back downstairs to the front entrance. Officer Warner and I moved to visually clear the residence of any suspects or additional victims. On the third floor, Officer Warner and I found 2 additional apparently deceased females, both lying supine in a bed. This bedroom was on the southwest corner of the 3rd floor. According to Dylan, these females were likely, it's supposed to say Kaylee, not Xana, and Madison Mogan. One female showed an apparent traumatic injury to her face due to the basic facial structure being unrecognizable. Both females showed very pale skin. Both females were covered in dried blood and apparently deceased. After the residence was deemed safe, Officer Warner and I exited the residence to secure it in the immediate area, to include the parking lot immediately to the north of the residence. So I can see why initially people thought that it was Kaylee that was probably targeted, because she was the one that had, additional injuries, particularly to her face. And then there's also that other theory that maybe it was Maddie that was targeted, because it was Maddie's room that the girls were attacked in. And then also we found out that Maddie was the only person out of all the roommates who actually have lived there the year before. So maybe, people were thinking like she could have been a target before, and then they just knew that she still lived there, and then subsequently, came to attack her afterwards. Or, we don't know when the timeline is when the killer decided to choose his victims, right? It could have been way after when everyone moved in at 1122 King Road, like all the roommates and everyone. I walked outside and began interviewing Dylan. Dylan told me at approximately 4 a.m., she heard a voice scream and believed it to be Kaylee's. See, this is where we're like learning more information about what the roommates heard. Because initially, I think when parts of the interviews that came out about the roommates, it was like the roommate saw the killer, and then like she was really drunk and she was really unsure, and then she like closed the door and like went back to sleep or something like that. And then we hear that like she actually went downstairs to Bethany's room, but on her way down she saw Xana laying on the floor. And then we hear that like, oh, she actually heard that there was a scream, or that she heard that there was a struggle. So it's like we're getting so much information about the roommates. And even though we try to give the roommates the benefit of the doubt and just like give them kind of like, because it's a situation that a lot of us has never been in, and we're trying to be more understanding of that. But man, it's really tough, because the more information you hear about the roommates, the more you're just like, what the heck? Like, this is crazy. This is wild. Hi all, good to be here with you. Hey AAA, hello. Thanks for another thorough video, Corgi. Hello AAA, thanks for joining us. For today's stream, I'm just gonna read the documents that we didn't read in full for the videos that we created, the 3 videos. So in those videos, I kind of just like recap, summarize the documents, but in this stream, I'm just going to go through and read most of these documents. So in case you guys are wondering what we're doing today. So Dylan says that at approximately 4 a.m., she heard a voice scream and believed it to be Kaylee's. Dylan said she heard Kaylee scream and announced there was somebody inside the residence. Dylan said she could hear Kaylee run from the 3rd floor down the stairs to the 2nd room into the northwest bedroom. Now I'm wondering, because I think this is the officer that had the names mixed up, right? Is this the same officer that had the names mixed up, or was that the other one? Oh no, it was the other. It was the other one. Okay. No, this is the officer that had the names mixed up. Okay, sorry. You would think I would remember because I just read it. So now I'm thinking, I wonder if Kaylee screamed so loud that everyone woke up. To the point where Xana, who was still awake, and she had just gotten her DoorDash delivery order, I wonder if Xana was maybe in the kitchen eating the food, or she was in the living room eating the food, or she was in a room eating the food. Oh, actually, no, because I think there was a crime scene photo that showed the DoorDash order bag still sitting in the kitchen. So I don't know if that bag was untouched or if she'd already finished the food and she like left it on the kitchen counter. But it seems like Xana was still awake. And I wonder if Xana heard Kaylee scream and then she ran upstairs to see what was going on. And then maybe at that point, that was when Brian Koberger saw Xana, was like, oh shit, and like had to like go and chase after Xana. And that's how Xana and Ethan were attacked afterwards. I don't know. I wonder if that's how it happened, because now that we're hearing more from the roommates and the narrative, it's like we're like sort of like trying to piece the picture together. It was Xana who ran down, right? That's what I'm thinking. Because it seems like I don't think Kaylee would have ran downstairs and then back upstairs. It seems like Kaylee and Maddie were probably caught off guard while they were still in their bed, and then Xana was probably went to go check to see what was going on. Dylan said she heard Kaylee scream and announced there was somebody inside the residence. Dylan said she could hear Kaylee run from the 3rd floor down the stairs to the 2nd floor into the northwest bedroom. And see, that's why I like doing these live streams with you guys, because I get to hear what you guys think, and then your guys' is like, you know, theories or like how you guys see things differently. So that's why sometimes like when I do these document reading, I like to do it before I make the videos. I'm like, oh, because I have more perspectives. But yeah, I did it the opposite time. She ran downstairs and was chased. That's what I was thinking. And then like Ethan was probably just like, you know, maybe very drunk, or, you know, he was just like, you know, completely like passed out and didn't hear what was going on, or maybe he was about to wake up. I don't know. Oh gosh, so crazy. Dylan said that she locked herself in the bedroom and continued to hear a commotion. And I wonder what was the commotion that she heard. Dylan said eventually she stopped hearing a struggle and heard a male voice say, "You're going to be fine. I'm going to help you." Dylan said she did not recognize the male's voice. Dylan said after a few minutes, she peeked out of her bedroom and observed a male described as approximately 6 feet tall, slim build, with a black ski mask leave the 2nd floor patio area. The patio door was likely left open as it was found open upon my arrival. And I wonder if Murphy was running in and out of this patio door, because some of the neighbors that were awake that night, or sorry, they were awoken by Murphy barking. They said that it sounded like Murphy was outside and was barking for like 45 minutes or something like that. So I wonder if at some point Murphy did get outside. It seems like sometimes if he was accidentally let outside without a leash, he would run around outside for a little bit. But I wonder if he just like eventually was like, okay, well, I'm outside. No one's coming after me. I'm just going to go back in and then go sleep in Kaylee's room. I interviewed the additional resident, Bethany Funk, who told me she was at the residence during the commotion. Bethany said she was on the 2nd floor in the living room watching Vampire Diaries with Dylan, I think, and an unidentified person named L. Bethany said at approximately 2 a.m. on 11/13/2022, Madison and Kaylee came home from the night out at the Corner Club Bar, located at Redacted in Moscow, Idaho. Bethany said she also believed Madison and Kaylee went to the Grub Wandering Kitchen truck that was commonly located at the 300 block of South Main Street. Bethany said she and Madison let Madison's dog out, Murphy, sometime between 2 a.m. and 2:30 hours. Bethany said that during this time she observed no suspicious activity. Bethany said she returned inside while Madison was still outside with Murphy. She went to bed around 2:30 a.m. Bethany said that Maddie came into her room sometime after 2:30 to ask if she knew where Murphy was. Bethany said she told Maddie no, and Maddie left. Bethany said she woke up in her bedroom, which was located in the 1st floor, to a sound she described as a firecracker and a flash. I want to know what was the sound that she heard. I wonder if this is a sound of, I don't know, maybe Brian Koberger like breaking into the house, like cracking open the door, or maybe like nudging a door open or something, or like with like a crowbar or something like that. And then she said she heard a flash too. So I wonder if it was like, maybe he had like a flashlight when he came inside, or he dropped his phone that had his flashlight. I don't know. You don't think Murphy was outside? I think it was a neighbor's dog maybe that was barking. Bethany said she woke up in her bedroom, which was located on the 1st floor. She described the sound as a firecracker and a flash. Bethany said she initially thought the sound was a prank. According to Bethany's phone log she showed me, Bethany called Xana at 4:21, Ethan at 4:22, Maddie at 4:22, and then Maddie again at 4:30, and then Kaylee at 4:31. Bethany said she never received an answer on each phone call. Bethany said she went back to sleep and woke up at 11:56 hours when 911 was called. It's kind of interesting to see the notes, or the type of notes that are written, because I don't know if Bethany told this officer that eventually Dylan did come into her bedroom and then they fell asleep together, or if they just like left that part out. But it's kind of interesting to see how many different narratives we get, and then how each officer would describe a situation very differently. Maybe he had like a taser stick. Hey Lan, how are you doing today? Hello, what's up? Initially, I told Keely was likely located on the second floor bedroom with Ethan. After comparing Dylan's initial statement with the other investigations officers' observations, it appeared to actually be Xana that was located on the floor of the bedroom, and Keely was one of the other females located in the third floor room. Here are some vehicles that they observed with a license plate. I think that's pretty much about it. And just the duties for the rest of the day. Okay. Here's another narrative. I heard it was a neighbor's German Shepherd barking, the one with the camera. Really? Where'd you guys hear that? I didn't see it in these documents. Is it somewhere else you guys heard about this? Because maybe it was Murphy barking, and then the German Shepherd could have heard Murphy barking, or could have heard, the white Hyundai Elantra skirting out of there, and then was barking because of that. It was the chat that you were in? Oh, I didn't hear anything about the German Shepherd barking. Interesting. Okay, the ones with the security cameras. I didn't see that anywhere in these documents. All right, here is another narrative. On November 13, 2022 at 13:47 hours, let me zoom this in for you guys. I interviewed Bethany at the Moscow Police Department in regards to the death of four of her roommates. Bethany is a resident of 1122 King Road. Bethany was home sleeping in her room located on the basement floor of the residence. She has an iPhone 11 Pro cell phone with a passcode redacted. Bethany went to a redacted party at around 20-30 hours with Ethan and Xana. They hung out in the apartment for a while together, and then Bethany went up to the main part of the fraternity to hang out at the party. Maddie and Kaylee went to the corner club together, not sure when they left. Bethany did not see Ethan and Xana at the party and left to go to KF residence at an address here. Bethany walked home at around 1-ish, and when she got back at 1122 King Road, Dylan and someone by the name Elle were at the residence, and they were all watching a movie together. Maddie and Kaylee got to the house at around 1:45 or 2 a.m. Elle left the house and Dylan went to bed. Bethany hung out with Maddie and Kaylee for a while in Kaylee's bedroom. Bethany and Maddie took Murphy, Kaylee's dog, out to go to the bathroom between 2:30 and 300 hours. Bethany did not stay outside for very long as it was cold. Maddie then went to bed and watched a TV show to help her sleep, Baby Daddy. At around 4 a.m. or 4:20, Bethany heard what she thought was a firework and saw a spark on the ground from under her bedroom door. Bethany then heard Murphy barking. Dylan called Bethany and stated that she had seen someone in the house, and Bethany told her that she could come down to her room and sleep with her. Dylan went to Bethany's room and went to bed. They woke up at around 11 a.m. and talked to other friends who came over, and they checked on Xana and Ethan and found them deceased. Bethany originally called 911 and stated her friend was passed out and would not wake up. Bethany talked about the incident with Keely, who stated about a month ago she saw an unknown male go up to their house in the south who was staring at her when she took Murphy out to go potty. I wonder if this was just like a random dude that was just around the house and she just found it to be creepy, or I wonder if she actually spotted like Brian Kroboger. Someone in the chat said he smoked with the people who live there. I'm skeptical of that as a credible source. I haven't seen anything about that. I know the Gonzalez family said they weren't sure if it was Murphy. However, the dog was under immense stress at the time. A lot of people think it was the German Shepherd. I also think it was another dog. I don't think Murphy's bark was that deep yet. Just my opinion. I processed 1112 audio clip at 3:17. You can hear a woman say, "Who's that at our window?" Reply, "Quinn." And then a male voice say, "Stand up, bitch." And then a thud. Oh, I didn't hear any of that. They do have a German Shepherd, whether he smoked with them or not. Bethany talked about the incident with Kaylee, who started about a month ago when she saw an unknown male above their house to the south who was staring at her when she took Murphy out to go potty. Bethany stated Kaylee broke up with her long-term boyfriend about 3 months ago because she was planning on moving to Texas, and Bethany could not provide me anything else at that time. That audio was really, really hard to to hear. The one where you can hear like the dog barking and then maybe someone screaming and the thud, because I've listened to it on some other YouTube channels as well, and whenever they're trying to like enhance the audio, honestly, it's like really hard to really hear anything. I for sure hear the dog barking though. Okay, whose interview is this? Is this one of the roommates, I think? This is the roommate, Bethany, again. Okay. November 16th, 2022, at around 11:55 hours, I met with Bethany at her redacted office at, I think it's like her attorney's office maybe. Present during the interview was, besides me, Bethany, and her other people that was there. I asked Bethany who had the front code door. Bethany told me the following people had the door code. So we have the 2 surviving roommates, we have the 4 victims, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, and I'm assuming maybe an ex-boyfriend in there. Hunter, the one who came to the scene, Hunter's girlfriend, the friend that was watching maybe the Vampire's Diary, and maybe, I don't know, some siblings in here, or maybe some boyfriends. Bethany stated above named people were the only ones she knew had the code. However, Bethany stated the code for the front door was the same code from the year before. So you never know if like someone told the code to another person and to another person. Like, it could be a lot of people that have the code. I asked Bethany what the code was, and she stated it was redacted. Bethany stated Maddie was the only roommate who lived in the residence the year before. Bethany stated her, Dylan, and Kaylee moved in around August 3rd, 2022. Bethany stated Ethan had his own apartment, but she was not sure where it was located. Bethany stated that Maddie kept her same room from the year before. Maddie's room was located on the 3rd floor on the east side of the residence next to the bathroom. I was thinking because the dog was in a room with a balcony, you can hear him better. Right, there is a balcony attached to that bedroom, so we don't know if maybe the windows were open or maybe like, I don't know, if the door was ajar or some sort. But I was thinking maybe Murphy did run out because maybe Murphy heard the commotion with like Xana downstairs. Maybe he went downstairs and then at some point he heard someone leaving through the sliding door and he just like followed the person out and then was just like outside barking, doing his thing. And then was just like, okay, well, I'm going to go back inside now. I asked Bethany about Murphy's routine. Murphy was Kaylee's dog she had purchased when she was still dating JD. Bethany stated Kaylee would primarily take Murphy out, but Maddie would also help. Oh, Maddie's such a good friend. Bethany stated they never just left the door open because he would run away, so they would just have to use a leash when they took him out. Bethany stated Murphy would not bark that often and was very friendly. Bethany stated Murphy would primarily sleep in Kaylee's room, and if Kaylee was not home, he would be left in the room. I asked Bethany about the Uber driver Maddie and Kaylee were using on a regular basis. Bethany stated Kaylee knew him from the other redacted who used him on a regular basis. Bethany stated they would either contact the Uber driver through the app or contact him directly. Bethany stated the Uber driver was very friendly and was also nice to everyone and everybody trusted him. Bethany was able to tell me the Uber driver was married and his wife had just had a baby. Bethany told me he drove a small car, possibly a gray or black, but she could not tell me more about the car. I asked Bethany who was in the house that had a boyfriend. Bethany told me Xana was dating Ethan. Dylan was dating a boy named Q who lived in Boise and went to BSU. That Boise State University was BSU, guys. Maddie was dating JS who lived in Boise. Kaylee was dating JD but had recently broken up with him. Kaylee was possibly hanging out with MB. Bethany stated that M was Xana's big in the Greek system. Bethany said the relationship was new and that he had never stayed over the house, but Kaylee had stayed with him possibly more than once. Bethany stated Kaylee was also talking to an ER and also a redacted. Bethany stated she did not have a boyfriend, but did mention she was kind of hanging out with someone named KD, who is a redacted, but they were also not that serious. I asked Bethany if she had ever heard of CG, maybe. Bethany stated she knew of AC, but he was also a redacted. Bethany stated redacted was a nice guy and knew someone named the D. I asked Bethany if she knew I think CB maybe, and she stated she did not. I asked Bethany if she knew the person behind Kaylee and Maddie at the Grub Truck video. Bethany stated she did not know who the person was. I asked Bethany if she knew a guy by the name of S. Bethany stated she did not know him, but stated she had heard from a friend of Maddie's, S, that her boyfriend, JF, and also redacted, that he would never want to get in a fight with S as he also had anger issues. I asked Bethany about who paid for the Spectrum Wi-Fi account. Bethany told me it was Kaylee who paid for the account. Bethany told me the login for the password was redacted and the Wi-Fi name was redacted. Bethany stated she did not know the actual username and login was for the account. I asked Bethany if she knew of anyone who had gotten asked to leave any of the parties thrown at the house. Bethany stated 2 guys from the redacted house, JH and another guy only she knew as R, got into the fight and they were told to leave. Bethany stated this fight occurred about a month before the incident at the house. I asked Bethany about AC or AO. Bethany stated A used to live at the house but moved out. I asked Bethany who used the bedroom on the west side of the first floor. Bethany stated Kaylee and Maddie used the room as an office. Bethany stated Kaylee would use it for her work and had a computer in it. I asked Bethany if any of the girls who worked at the house had jobs. Bethany told me Maddie and Xana both worked at the Mad Greek on Main Street. The Mad Greek is shut down, by the way. I found that out when I was looking up their business. It seems like they've been closed for a little bit from Yelp. Hey, Nicole, how are you doing today? Hello. Oh, make sure you're joining in the Discord then. If the YouTube notifications go off, then usually Discord is pretty consistent. Bethany did not know who the company was. Bethany told me Maddie also looked for an online company, but it was not... Oh, sorry, I skipped a line. Kaylee worked for an online company and worked from home, but Bethany did not know who the company was. Bethany also told me that Maddie also looked for an online company, but it was not the same company. The company that Maddie worked for was out of Boise, and during the summer, she would work for them in their office in Boise. I asked Bethany about the drug use in the house and who used. Bethany told me that Ethan and Xana both took Adderall when they drank alcohol. Bethany told me that she saw Ethan and Xana both use Adderall the night before the murders. Bethany told me she saw Ethan take a pill and she saw Xana crush up the pill and started by using a rolled up bill in her room. So in the log for there's like the crime scene log where they list a $2 bill that was rolled up and there was like a blue pill that they suspected to be drugs. I mentioned this before in my video, but I wonder if that's just like the Adderall. And then maybe when people saw, them storing up this substance, they just assumed that it was coke or something. Or maybe they also did coke as well. I asked Bethany if she had any issues from any of the people who live around them. Bethany stated besides like the 3 to 4 noise complaints they had there was no other issues. Bethany told me Kaylee would look up who these registered sex offenders who lived in the area. Bethany stated Kaylee had found a registered sex offender who lived close to them in the blue apartments on Queens. Kaylee stated he was older, in his 30s to 40s. Bethany stated that Kaylee was looking at the sex offender registry within the weeks before the murders. Bethany stated that Kaylee was into crime shows. Bethany also stated there was nothing else that happened. There's nothing that happened to prompt her to look up the sex offender registry. Oh, I forgot when I'm reading this much. I get so thirsty. Bethany and her roommates had found the door open on November 4th at around 10:57 a.m. They entered the house and grabbed golf clubs. Oh, I completely skipped this paragraph also. Starting over. I asked Bethany about 2 other incidents where Kaylee had mentioned some weird things had happened. Bethany told me about an incident at Winco where a male had followed her around the store, watched her check out, and then followed her to her vehicle. Xana was waiting the vehicle. Kaylee said the male was African American in his late 20s. Bethany felt it happened sometime between Halloween, so mid to late October. Kaylee purchased a case of White Claws for Xana. Bethany and her roommates had found the door open on November 4th at around 10:57, a.m. So this is November 4th, about less than 10 days before the murders happened. They entered the house and grabbed golf clubs out of the west first floor bedroom. Bethany and the other roommates walked around the house with the golf clubs to check the house. Kaylee was not home for this incident as she had gone home for the weekend. The wind was blowing, the screws on the hinges were loose, and Xana's dad fixed it before he left that weekend. I wonder if someone just left the door open and they thought maybe someone broke it in, or I wonder if someone did break in, and if someone did break in, I wonder if that was maybe Brian Koberger scoping out the house before he decided to attack them. I don't know. I still don't know where I stand on whether or not I think Brian Koberger had this like planned out in terms of like who the victims were going to be, or if he was driving around that night and he just happened to just chose 1122 King Road. But it just seems wild to me to just like spontaneously just choose a house the night that you're planning on doing it instead of like having it all planned out. Kaylee told everyone about an incident where she saw a male watching her when she had taken Murphy out back to go to the bathroom. Bethany could not remember when this happened, but she could not provide an actual day. Bethany stated she had been at the chapter meeting at the time Kaylee called them asking them if they were going to be home soon. The following is the time of events of November 12 and November 13, 2022. So again, she's going to go through the timeline, and I think there's going to be a lot more details of the entire day before. Did he cut his phone on November 4th? That was my question. I don't remember seeing that in the police documents. Because I was thinking, what if he just left his phone at the house, at the apartment that he was staying at? But no, they didn't mention. I don't know. Because I remember they talked about how Brian Koberger pinged the cell phone tower that services 1122 King Road about like 11 times, I think 11 to 12 times before the murders. But I don't remember if they actually listed the actual dates. I don't remember that. I'm sure we could probably look up in the arrest affidavit to see if those dates were listed on there, but I don't think they were. Yes, me too. I think it would be a poor choice to pick a house with all those cars, spur of the moment. Right. And then, you know, what about like surveillance cameras? Like you would have to like scope it out. And then if you were like scoping out the house, wouldn't you see that a DoorDash driver just came to deliver food? I don't know. It's just like he just randomly just like chose his house, just drove there. Like, hey, we're just going to go to this house. I don't know. Like, yes, he was driving around that neighborhood for a little bit, but I wonder if he was driving around the neighborhood to see when the lights were going to turn off, or if he was driving around the neighborhood to see, like, you know, which house he was going to choose. I don't know. But, no, we'll probably never get the answers. Bethany stated she was the last one in the house to wake up. When she got up, Ethan was in the house in the living room with Kaylee, Dylan, Maddie, Xana were all gone. Bethany felt she got up sometime between 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning. Bethany stated she checked her Find My Friends app and saw they were at Taco Bell at the time. Once Kaylee, Dylan, Maddie, Xana got back, they were getting ready for the day. Kaylee, Dylan, Maddie, and Bethany were in Kaylee's room, and they were getting ready for a party at Redacted Taylor Street, the Whites. For some reason, this house party, or this party was called like the house, or sorry, this house was called the Whites. It was just what they referred to. I don't know if like the house was white, if the people were white, or I don't know what it is. The house belonged to B, S, and K. The apartment is located on the second floor on the far east side of the apartment building. Bethany stated this was between 11 to 12 in the afternoon. Bethany stated Kaylee left for the Whites before the rest of the group. Bethany stated she left around 2 p.m. with Maddie, Dylan, Xana, Ethan, Hunter, and some other people in there. Bethany stated that she started drinking at around 11:30 or 12 when still at 1122 King Road. So basically they were just all drinking all day, every day. Bethany stated she was drinking mimosas and high noons throughout the night. Bethany also stated she played a drinking game called Rage Cage later in the night. If you guys don't know what Rage Cage is, I'm sure there's different variations of it, but there's the one that I know is when there's a bunch of red Solo cups in the middle of the table, and it's filled with, it's like, I think like you fill a little bit of it with like beer or something like that. And then you take like a ping pong ball and then you like bounce it in. And then like if someone to your side, if they bounce it before you and they hop over you, then like you have to drink and stuff like that. It's a pretty chaotic game, but it's pretty fun. But I would say it's very chaotic. Bethany felt she drank a 12-pack of High Noons during the night, 2 mimosas in the standard wine glass. Bethany wasn't sure of what she had been drinking when she played Rage Cage. What does Adderall do? Is it a stimulant? I mean, Adderall is for people for like, if you have like ADHD, it helps you like concentrate. However, I remember when I took Adderall in college, you get like the feel that you would get, it feels like you're on speed. Like you do feel like you're fixated on something, but for me, because I didn't have ADHD back then, it worked for me completely different than how it was supposed to. But it's like, I don't know, it's like I don't drinking, I guess like if you're drinking alcohol and then you're taking Adderall, I would assume they would counteract each other, because alcohol is a like depressant. Alcohol is a depressant, and then Adderall is like the opposite of that. Yeah, it's basically an amphetamine. Because I remember when I took it, it was like, I remember I couldn't concentrate on studying. Instead, I would be fixated on random shit. So like when I was at my laptop, I would organize all my folders and my file names and my pictures and all that stuff. And I didn't study. I don't know. It like didn't work for me at all. But I think it's just because like, you know, when you're on alcohol, maybe you get really tired, sleepy at some point, and then like maybe the Adderall kind of like counteracts that. And then you can go on drinking more. But I don't know. I don't think did I ever do Adderall and drinking at the same time? Probably did. People at my school take it to concentration school. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will take Adderall, you know, unprescribed, thinking it will help them study for tests and all that stuff. For me, it never worked that way. I would end up doing something completely different. Bethany stated she was at the Whites until 3:48 p.m. when she left with Xana. Maddie, Kaylee, and Dylan stayed at the Whites. Ethan had left before her and Xana. Bethany and Xana went to AB Place, somewhere on Taylor. Bethany and Xana left there at around 4:51 p.m. and went back to 1122 King Road. Bethany, Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Dylan were all at the house and made food. Ethan was not at the house during this time. At around 6 p.m., Bethany, Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Dylan all went to take a nap, and they were all set their alarms for 10 p.m. Oh man, this reminds me of like the Vegas times where it's like you day drink, you take a nap, and then you wake up at like fucking 10 p.m. to continue partying even more. Oh Jesus, I'm getting tired just reading this. Bethany got up at 10 p.m. That's 10 p.m., right? No, sorry, that's 8 p.m. My bad. 2000 hours, 8 p.m. That still sounds tiring. It's hard for me if I ever take a nap that late. It's hard for me to wake up again and like do my makeup and get ready. Like I don't know. Once I take a nap and if I wake up and it's dark outside, I'm like, hell no, I'm going back to sleep and I can't do this. I was diagnosed with ADHD and my stimulant was not working. Although I definitely need a different dose. Yeah, and there's different types. There's like, because I think Adderall is just the one where it's just like you just take the pill, right? But then there's also like Vyvanse where it's like the slow release where instead of just getting blasted with the drug, it's like it slowly releases into your system. But I don't know. I haven't taken it in like a long time, so my knowledge could just be really old. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Alice, I just feel drained just reading this. Vyvanse is what you're taking right now. I remember when I took Vyvanse, I didn't like it because with Adderall, it just felt like you're just high and you just got like a full force blast of it. With Vyvanse, it was more of like a steady feeling, and I was like, oh, this is boring for me. I'm just sleepy. Once they all woke up, they got ready to go to Redacted for a house party. Maddie and Bethany left first to go to P's apartment at Redacted around 2100 hours. Kaylee stayed home and was not going to the party at Redacted. Ethan and Xana came over to the party after Bethany and Maddie. Dylan did not come with the rest and walked over at a later time. Maddie was not there for a very long time. She went back to the house to go with a club with Kaylee. Damn, that's crazy. Like party, going clubbing and all that stuff. Oh man, these are the young days. Yeah, Vyvanse is more smooth. Adderall is more of a spike. I've taken both. Yeah, Vyvanse, well, for me, I think it was just because I was trying to use, I would take Adderall for the high, and then I remember trying to take Adderall to study, but then when I realized it didn't work for me, I was like, oh no, fuck that. But yeah, for me, when I was younger and I wanted to get high, I was just like, oh, Adderall was way more fun. But I don't know. It was like just young, dumb shit, you know? Oh gosh. I don't recommend it. One of Bethany's friends, YA, got to the Redacted and hung out with her. Bethany stated Y showed up at around 2200 hours. They stayed in one of the apartments for a little bit longer, and she and Y went to the main house for the Redacted fraternity. Bethany stated this might have been around 2230 or 2245 hours, so like 1030, 1045. Bethany stated he hung out at the main part of the house for a while before she left the Redacted fraternity. She saw Ethan and Xana in P's apartment. Bethany stated this was around, I guess, like 12:17 a.m. Bethany and Y went to A's house again on Taylor. Bethany stated her, J, H, K, and Y were the only ones at the house. Bethany stated she walked home at around 1 a.m. and Dylan and L were the only ones in the house. Were the only ones in the house. Bethany, Dylan, and Elle were watching Vampire Diaries for a while at around 11:22 a.m. Elle left. Dylan went to a room after Elle left. At around 2 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie came home. Maddie, Kaylee, and Dylan and Bethany went to Kaylee's bedroom once they got home. Kaylee was getting ready for the bed as they were hanging out in her room. Bethany, Maddie, and Dylan went downstairs, and Maddie and Bethany took Murphy outside to let him go to the bathroom. That's so crazy, man. Like, their entire day was just so intertwined with each other and with other people. Man, it's like one moment you're hanging out with your friends, and then the next moment you find yourselves, you know, like a witness to their murders. I can't believe you got high, Corgi. Oh man, I did drugs at a very young age. I don't recommend drugs. Don't do drugs. I don't recommend drugs or drinking when you're young. B only stayed outside for a short time, and then she went back into the house and put something away in her cupboard and grabbed a bag of chips. B went downstairs to go to bed. B stated nothing was unusual about Maddie and Bethany's demeanor when they got home. Bethany stated they appeared to be happy. Bethany said Maddie was highly intoxicated and that she had not seen her at that level she had not seen her at that level of intoxication for a very long time. B said when she went to bed, she was using her iPad to watch a TV show off Hulu. She said she was watching Baby Daddy. Bethany could not remember. So I keep saying B and Bethany like interchangeably. I'll just stick with Bethany. I feel like it's less confusing. Bethany could not remember what episode she was watching or how long she was watching. As she was watching the show, Maddie came downstairs and asked her if she had Murphy with her because she could not find him. Bethany told her no. Bethany said her door was locked and she normally locks her door when she goes to bed. Bethany told me she eventually turned off the show and her iPad and went to sleep. I wonder if her locking the door could have potentially saved her that night. Because I wonder if Brian Koberger may have tried to go to the other roommates' doors or if he just went directly to the third floor. Day drinking is so fun. Oh man, I hate day drinking. It's the worst. I feel like, well, I guess now that I'm older, if I have to drink, I guess I prefer to drink during the day because I hate sleeping it off. That's the worst. I'd rather drink during the day and then I guess take a nap, assuming I don't have anything to do, and then just be fine for dinner. But when you drink at night and then you go to sleep, man, that sleep is like the worst. I hate that. You wonder if Maddie locked her door? Bethany said she woke up after falling asleep to hearing what she felt was a firecracker go off, and she thought she saw a sparkler going off through the crack under her door. See, this is why I was thinking if Brian Koberger entered through the first floor, maybe he tried to enter into Bethany's room, and because the door was locked, he was like, yeah, I'll just go check other bedrooms to see who doesn't have their doors locked. I don't know. Yeah, it's actually really easy to pick door locks, depending on what kind of door you have. But I mean, the old way of just breaking into houses was just getting a credit card and just sliding it in, and then it would just push it open. Pretty crazy. Bethany stated she did not know what happened. Either Bethany called Dylan or Dylan called Bethany, and Dylan stated she thought she saw someone dressed in all black in the house. Bethany said Xana had been wearing all black. Dylan responded by saying she thought he had a ski mask on. So I remember when we were going through the text messages, I was very confused why the roommate would be like, oh, Xana wasn't wearing all black, you know? But now it makes sense because one roommate thought that they saw someone wearing all black, and then the other roommate, who has no idea what's going on, was just probably saying, like, oh, well, wasn't Xana wearing all black? So I feel like we're like starting to fill in so many gaps in with these documents. But again, there's a lot of what ifs and lots of questions that we still have, though. Right? I wonder what Bethany heard, and I wonder what Bethany saw. Because I was thinking, like, what if Brian Koberger tried to come in the first floor, and then that's where Bethany was sleeping? Maybe he had his like phone flashlight on, or he had a flashlight on, or something like that. And then I don't know, because if she thought she heard like a firecracker go off, she must have heard like a crack of some sort. Maybe he used a crowbar to get into the door. I don't know. Dylan responded by saying that he had a ski mask on. Bethany said she didn't really know what to say to what Dylan said. Bethany admitted both her and Dylan get scared easy. Bethany even thought maybe one of Ethan's frat brothers could have been playing a joke. Bethany told Dylan to come down to her room, and Dylan ran down to her room. Bethany tried calling Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan's phone, and nobody answered. Bethany said it was normal for Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan not to answer if they were sleeping if she called late at night. Bethany looked at her phone, and it showed Bethany called Dylan at 4:19 a.m., and at 4:20, Dylan called Bethany back. During that call, Bethany asked Dylan if she heard a firecracker, and Dylan said she did, so they both heard like a firecracker sort of noise. Bethany could not recall if it was during this call where Dylan was talking about seeing someone in black walking in the house. Waking up after is just as bad. Yeah, dude. Waking up after drinking, or like, you guys ever like the meat sleeps, you know, after a Korean barbecue and then you go to sleep. I don't know, like the meat dreams, or like it's like your body's spending so much energy to process the meat that you just ate. I feel like you get the meat sweats in the middle of the night and it's hard to sleep. Like, I don't know, man. I hate that too. Drinking before going to bed and then eating a shit ton of meat before going to bed. The sleep is always like so nasty. Once Bethany and Dylan were in Bethany's room together, they continued to talk about what they heard and saw. Bethany told me Dylan said the male in black was walking out the back door, and they had made eye contact with each other. Bethany said Dylan said the male was white with a big nose and that he was possibly holding a small vacuum-type object. Bethany and Dylan did not call 911 at the time because Bethany thought Dylan was imagining what she was talking about. Bethany stated both her and Dylan were both still drunk and they were very groggy. Bethany told me prior to hearing the firecracker, she thought she heard Murphy bark. She also heard what she thought was a beer pong table moving and cups falling. You know, I forgot what I was listening to, but I was listening to something where they mentioned Brian Koberger must have maneuvered around the house without knocking any beer pong cups. I don't know where I heard that. I feel like I heard that within the past couple days. So I don't know. We're getting like different stories here. I think it was was it Court TV or News Nation when they were talking about the crime scene? They had the crime scene photos and they were discussing it. The beer pong table is located in the living room, which is above Bethany's bedroom. Bethany stated she was not sure what the sequence events were for sure, but she knows she heard Murphy bark, the beer pong table, and then the firecracker first before she called Dylan to see if she had heard the same thing. Bethany told me she tried calling Xana and Maddie at 4:21 a.m. and then tried calling Ethan at 4:22. Bethany stated she tried calling Maddie, Kaylee, Xana several more times once Dylan got into her room. Bethany told me that she went to bed. She remembers most of the lights being left on inside the house. Bethany told me after trying to contact the roommates, she fell back asleep. Then woke up around 7:30, tried calling her dad about her tooth. So when we initially heard about the roommates, I think I heard about one of the roommates trying to call their dad. I wonder, initially I thought the roommates were like, fuck, like I wonder if something happened. Let me tell my dad about it first to see what he thinks. And if he doesn't think it's a big deal or thinks that I'm just overreacting, then, you know, I'm just not going to do anything about it. So I don't know. When people actually heard about the phone calls between the roommate and the dad, I think some people also thought that maybe the roommates were involved in this and then was calling their parents for help or something. But now it's like, okay, we're getting more details that she was just calling her dad because her tooth hurts. I guess she doesn't mention what happened to the house and she just goes back to sleep again. Bethany tried calling her dad at 7:30 about her tooth. Tried calling him again at 8 a.m., but there was no answer. She called her house at 8:01, again, no answer, and then called her mom at 8:02, and he answered and asked to talk, and she answered and asked to talk to her dad. Her dad called her back at 8:09, and he talked to him, and she talked to him. And she talked to him and eventually took Advil for her tooth. Bethany then fell back asleep. Bethany woke up around 11 a.m. and noticed that no one else in the house was up. Bethany stated that she knew this because Xana's Snapchat location was not on and it should have been. I guess, what does that mean? Does that mean Xana turns it off every night and then turns it back on when she's about to be active? Or, I don't know, I don't use Snapchat, so what are we talking about here? Or did she just mean that she just thought Xana's Snapchat location would show that she's like elsewhere? I don't know. I'm a little confused about that. Or can you set up like a time frame of when your Snapchat location turns on and off? Or I'm confused because the photos show the cups on the table rather than the floor. Yeah, I think that's what they were discussing. But in this one, it seems like they heard the beer pong. Oh, you know what? There was that theory from Brian Koberger's defense team where they believe that there was an attempted cleanup at the crime scene. And that's why Brian Koberger couldn't have committed the crimes within the time frame and all that stuff. So I wonder if this is one of the indications where the defense was saying that, oh, it seems like, you know, the beer pong tables were put back on the table because the roommate said she heard beer pong cups being knocked over. However, in the crime scene photos, the beer pong cups were on the table as if none of them were knocked over. So I wonder if this is like going into there must have been a crime scene. Oh, because the phone was off. Okay, duh. An even more simpler answer. Thank you, Fire. Question is, why did Koberger choose a K-board when he could have gotten a large tactical folding knife of similar strength to be a fixed blade? I have a Japanese blade made to a special forces spec. Maybe he just typed in knife in Amazon and then he was just like, oh, this is a cool looking knife. I don't know. First knife that popped up. I don't know. H arrived at the house. Okay, Xana's Snapchat location was not on and it should have been. So that would make a good explanation that her phone was not charged, not turned on, and they thought it was weird. Bethany and Dylan got scared because they should have been up. Bethany then called her friend Jay and told her she and Dylan were scared and asked if she would come and get them. D then called E and asked her to come over. D and B, Dylan and Bethany, knew E was with H, so they knew that they would come over with her. Sorry. Once they start getting more people involved in the names, I start getting a little bit confused. If you're sleeping, Snapchat will show Z in your icon. Oh, okay. Hunter arrived at the house and came through the front door. Hunter went up to the stairs first, and when she and Dylan went up the stairs, Hunter turned around and told Dylan and Bethany to get out of the house, to call for help. Bethany stated that she could see Xana on the floor of her bedroom. Bethany said Xana was wearing underwear and a sweatshirt. Bethany stated the door was partially open, but stated the door should normally be closed. Would normally be closed. Should normally would be closed. Damn, okay. I'm just going to read it as is, I guess. Bethany called 911 and was trying to talk to the dispatcher, but was having a hard time talking. Bethany had to give the phone to her friend, Jay, so she could talk to the dispatcher. I asked Bethany if she had ever seen Xan on the floor like that. She did that morning. Bethany told me she has never seen this, but she has heard Xana would pass out on the floor in the past when she was highly intoxicated. Bethany told me Hunter went back into the house. Bethany could not remember if J and E went into the house. Bethany told me she believed H. Hunter grabbed a knife from the kitchen when he went back into the house. Bethany said the police arrived as she was still on the phone. And she disconnected with dispatch. Oh, is it Emily? For some reason, I was thinking Eva. Where am I thinking of Eva from? $106. And then who was the third friend again? Because Hunter and Emily were both on the dock, and then there was also the third friend as well that was also at the house. $106. November 13, 2022, at approximately 13:49 hours, I interviewed EA at the Moscow Police Department, reference the quadruple homicide at 1122 King Road. So maybe Emily then? I asked A what her relationship to the victims were. She told me Kernoodle was her best friend and the others were all close friends as well. After I collected information, I asked A to tell me about her day on November 12, 2022. I'm just going to go down to this part right here. A stated that she and Hunter woke up at approximately 1 a.m. and then stayed back up watching TV until approximately 3 a.m., at which point they went back to sleep. A stated she woke up at approximately 10:30 a.m. on November 13, 2022. A stated Dylan, I think, called her at approximately 11:51 a.m. that morning and said, last night around 4 a.m., she heard and saw a man. She and Bethany were locked in the room sleeping. She added she wanted A to come over to check the house because she was too scared. A was also said Dylan heard Gonzalez scream and run up to the stairs. A while later, Dylan came out of her room and saw a man staring at her. A stated the man didn't do anything to Dylan. Dylan said she stayed in the locked room and she heard the side door close, so she ran into Bethany's room. So I wonder if the door was like partially closed and not closed all the way. Hey, Malibu, how are you doing today? Hello, hello. Oh, her mom's name was Eva? Okay. I was like, I feel like I kept hearing Eva. So that's what I was thinking. It was Eva, not Emily. Thank you. I asked A if she asked Dylan why she didn't call anyone that night. A stated that Dylan told her it was because she was intoxicated and didn't want to believe what was going on. Dylan also told A the man was wearing a mask and could only see his eyes and nose. A stated Jay went over to the house just before her. That's Hunter. When A arrived, she stated she went upstairs but was stopped by Hunter, who told A she didn't want to see it. A went back outside and the officers responded. I asked A if anything seemed out of the ordinary from what she saw. She told me there was a large party at the house on Friday, November 11, 2022. A stated the house was a mess due to the party. A also told me she saw a knife laying on the floor at the top of the stairs when she went inside. A described the knife as a steak knife. It was later determined that Hunter grabbed his knife when he entered the house. A stated she remained outside after she walked out of the residence until law enforcement arrived. She was also stated that she came to the Moscow Police Department to be interviewed. I asked A if she knew who would commit the murders. A stated she did not know. A added that she and Kernoodle were no longer redacted sorority members. I asked her if there had been any stalking behavior or recent suspicious circumstances. I wonder why there weren't sorority members anymore. A stated there has not been anything that she could remember. She also stated there was no other conflicts with the other victims that she knew of. I conclude my interview with A after collecting information about her cell phone. This is the part where we get the interviews from the neighbors and how they heard the noise. I don't think I read anything about the German Shepherd in any of these interviews, though. All right, so here's one neighbor. Let me use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. Hey, Nicole, you can comment now. Yay! I think because they moved out of the sorority house before they were supposed to. Oh, are there rules like that? Like if you want to be in the sorority, you actually have to live at the sorority house? Ugh. You know, so I have a lot of footage for vlogs. I've been busy with the true crime stuff, man. But yeah, I need to get on it. Stretch break. Yeah, get up and drink some water, y'all. My lips have been so dry. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay. Where are we at? Neighbors interview. Okay. Actually, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. On 11/13/22, at around 12 a.m., I responded, 12 p.m., I guess. I responded to 1122 King Road for the report of an unresponsive subject. Upon my arrival, I noticed there were several college-age subjects out front of the address. I was directed to use a police caution tape to cordon off the crime scene. As I was working around the residence, I noticed the back door was open, and there were footprints in the snow coming back from the door of the back porch. Officer Smith took photos of these prints with a measuring tape. He watched the backyard area to make sure no one else came into the area. I noticed there was a few footprints to the left towards the west of the backyard. This portion of the backyard is connected to 2 other residences. It's hard for me to read this document because it's not bold. I don't like this font. It's too thin. It's connected to 2 other residences, 1118 King Road and 1126 King Road, both directly to the west. The footprints appeared to lead west towards King Road between the residences, but I was unable to see where the footprints went after the yards connected due to the amount of rock landscaping. I also was unable to discern how old these prints were. There has not been any recent snowfall. That's why Ethan had to get in an apartment. Maybe the grade's not good enough. Hey, Del Wavy, how are you doing today? Hello, hello. Was Ethan a part of the frat? Right? Ethan was in the same frat as his brother, I think, right? Because it mentioned that the roommate thought that maybe Ethan's frat brothers were playing a joke on them. With Sergeant Gunderson, I entered the residence to continue taking photos of the scene. I entered the bottom floor, main door, on the north side. I took photographs of the room and the living areas of the residence. The photos were downloaded into the CD and booked into evidence. The photos were labeled in this report with a brief description of each photo. As I was down the road of the address near the King Road and Queen Road intersection, I was approached by a college-age male who identified himself as Jay. He informed me he lived at Redacted King Road apartment. He stated that his Redacted lived upstairs at 1122 King Road and they share a dog that was there currently. So I'm assuming this is Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. Jay did not appear to have obvious wounds on his hands, as I would assume the suspect possibly would. Officer Nunes was interviewing subjects about the situation. I asked Jay if he would wait outside Officer Nunes' police car so we can talk to him. He agreed. I informed Sergeant Gunderson of the circumstances involving Jay. Jay later responded to the police department to be interviewed and then picked up the dog from the Moscow Humane Society shelter. I continued to canvass the area and speak with the neighbors at Redacted and Redacted Queen Road, who stated they didn't hear or see anything relevant. I spoke with subjects at Redacted King Road. One resident, DL, stated she was walking home from the corner club at around 3 a.m. and thought she could hear music or some type of music or noise, but she couldn't give any clarifying information more than that due to her level of intoxication that night. I spoke with the subjects at Redacted King Road. The majority of them stated they were out drinking at the corner club and got a ride back to their place at around 1:30 a.m. and went to sleep at 2 a.m. They didn't hear anything out of the ordinary. Redacted King resident BP stated that around 4 a.m. he heard a dog barking dog come from the east of his residence. He believed it was a dog at 1122 King Road, as he thought that was the only dog in the area. Where's the German Shepherd? He stated the dog sounded like it was outside and was barking for about 45 minutes until he believed someone must have let it inside at around 4:45 a.m. when it stopped. B stated he had a female with him in bed at the time who also heard the dog barking at the time. I spoke with the residents at Redacted King Road, PC maybe, informed me they had a camera facing the west of the address that they believe captures a portion of the road. They first provided me with the SIM card out of the camera, however, they could not get it to work, neither could I. So we got some, people in the neighborhood who are willing to help. This is number 4. Here's another neighbor. So they responded to the scene. They were walking around the area, and I think they found... This is the person that found the... No, not this person. Okay, there was someone that found a backpack. But this is where we get the documentation of the Exhibit 57. They found a rolled $2 bill located on the desk in the floor 2, bedroom 1 northwest. Again, I assume that to be Xana's bedroom. And then there was blue powder, suspected drugs, again in the same bedroom in the desk. And then again, this is the blood samples from the 3rd floor, and then blood sample from the wall of the floor 2 living room. SG told me the following. He woke up a couple of times Saturday night. He looked at the clock, saw it was 4:17 a.m., and said it was around 5 minutes of waking up he heard a dog barking outside from the direction of 1122 King Road. G said he was going in and out of sleep for after an hour, and after an hour, around 5 a.m., he could still hear the dog barking outside from the direction of 1122 King Road. G said his bedroom is on the far northeast side of redacted Walenta and is closest to the backyard of 1122 King Road. G said there is a motion light outside of his window and said if it turned on, he would have noticed it. G told me he has lived in his residence since January and has not heard the dog barking outside before in the middle of the night. I next spoke with MM. M told me on the 13th he woke up at around 2:30 a.m. and left the house at around 3 a.m. M said that he had a redacted extended training day and it lasted around 12 hours. Jesus, that's a long training day. M said he finished his extended training day at around 6 p.m. at Buffalo Wild Wings and arrived home at 6:30. M said he was approximately 20, I guess, like frat members, and did not notice anyone who should have been there was not there. M did not remember hearing anything in particular when he woke up or left around 2:30 or 3 a.m. M did not hear the dog barking. I next spoke to TM. T told me he did not hear the dog bark at any point. T said that he had been out of the bars in evening of the 12th and got home at around 2:30. T said he sleeps with earplugs in. T said his sister, MM, mentioned she saw Madison Mogan at some point at the corner club. T provided me with the sister's phone number. Hey, what does MPD mean? Oh, Moscow Police Department. Maybe I should have wrote Moscow PD. Maybe that would be more clear. Sorry about that. 14. Okay, 90 we already read. G we read 1, 2. I guess we could read these two. This is just more of the description of the crime scene. Document number 1. On 11/13/2022 at around 12 p.m., I responded to 1122 King Road in reference to a possible homicide victims. Officer Nunes had arrived on the scene and found a total of 4 deceased individuals. Hey, Carolyn, how are you doing today? Hello. This is why I constantly test my camera memory cards. They can be corrupted. Oh, I never test my camera memory cards. I just wing it. If it works, it works. Hey, Shanzo, I'm doing good. How about yourself? What have you been up to? When I arrived, I entered this residence and went to the 2nd floor. I observed a female wearing a sweatshirt and underwear laying in the middle of the bedroom floor covered in blood. I observed deep lacerations indicative of defensive wounds on the female's hands. So this would be Xana. The female was surrounded by blood on the floor. I observed a male laying on the bed. The male appeared to have suffered from stab wounds and lacerations to the neck. The male was covered in blood and the bedding around him was soaked in blood. In the 3rd floor bedroom, I observed 2 females laying in bed which appeared to have been stabbed to death. The female laying on the left of the half of the bed, as I looked at it from the doorway, was unrecognizable. Her face was completely disfigured and was stabbed several times. I was unable to comprehend exactly what I was looking at while trying to discern the nature of the injuries. I wonder if this was post-mortem injuries or if this happened during the attack. Is that my fire alarm? I don't know. Hey, Muhir, how are you doing today? The 2nd female on the right half of the bed had multiple stab wounds. The comforter was soaked in blood and a pool of blood was still present. I was assigned to hold security at the rear slider door. This was the alleged point of entry of the suspect. I observed very large footprints in the snow. I used a tape measure, and the shoe size measured approximately 13.5 to 14 inches. The footsteps went to and from the rear slider door. I observed a trail of footsteps head away from the slider and then turn right. Around a stump in the backyard, lead toward the front of the house. I observed a small set of handprints on the window on the east of the slider. Oh, the handprints on the window, those pictures were released to the public too. The screen to the window appeared damaged and was laying on the ground. I located smudged fingerprints on the glass slider door. There was a discarded black backpack in the backyard. I photographed these items that were attached to this case. I think the backpack ended up being nothing. The screen door that was laying on the ground, apparently, if I remember correctly, I think I remember reading that that screen door damage had already been there for quite some time now, and they just like left it there. I don't know anything about the small handprints on the window though. Did I read number 4 yet? Let's go to number 4. On 11/32/22 at approximately 12 p.m., I responded to 1122 King Road with the report of an unresponsive subject. Upon my arrival, I noticed there were several college-age subjects. Oh, I think I already read this one. I did read this one. Yes. Okay. 1, 2. Number 2 is the one that I didn't read yet. (11/13/22) at approximately 11:58 hours, I responded to a report of an unconscious person at 1122 King Road. Dispatch advised a female was passed out from intoxication and not waking up. Dispatch advised there was a male seen in the room with a female last night. A short time later, dispatch advised the female was not conscious and not breathing. As I arrived, Officer Nunes advised over the air it appeared to be a homicide. I saw a small group of females outside the home in the parking lot. One female advised her roommate was on the second floor and needed help. Sorry, this font is like so thin, it's hard to read. How could I make this darker? I went to Officer Nunes' location at the west bedroom on the second floor and passed a male in the living room, later identified as HJ. Officer Nunes advised the female and male in the bedroom had blood on them and appeared to be beyond help. I walked out of the bedroom towards Jay and saw a clean steak knife on the beer pong table. I pointed the knife out to Nunes. Jay said that he got the steak knife from the kitchen because he arrived and saw the female on the bedroom floor covered in blood and did not know if there was anyone else present in the room. Jay said that he checked the room with a knife for protection. Hey, how's it going, Diane? Hello, hello. How are you? Really? Officer Nunes was new and only 22 years old at the time. Jeez, I wonder if this is like one of the first new cases that he came upon. Pretty crazy because apparently in Moscow, it's not really a lot of crimes. I think, didn't they mention they didn't have there wasn't a murder that happened within the past 8 years or something like that? I feel like I heard that in one of the documentaries. Yeah, what a way to start off your career. Officer Nunes and I walked to the first floor with Hunter. I asked the females and Hunter if there was anyone else in the apartment, and they did not know. I told Officer Nunes the home was not secure, and we started the process of clearing it. On the third floor in the southeast bedroom, I saw 2 clothed females laying on a bed on their backs who appeared deceased. One female on the left side of the bed in relation to the bedroom door had an extreme amount of lacerations to her face and upper body, which made her unrecognizable. Really? I think they said he was only on the job for 6 months. I could be remembering incorrectly. The other female had multiple lacerations on her upper body and some blood on her face. So the one on the left would be Kaylee, and then on the right is Maddie. I walked to the far side of the bed to determine if the female on the right was beyond help. I saw the female's leg was off the edge of the bed and it had lividity. Once I noticed the lividity in the female's leg, I backed out of the room. Officer Nunes and I checked the rest of the third floor and saw that it was clear. There was a poodle in the west bedroom on the bed, which was later taken to the Humane Society by LCSO. I think they said there hadn't been any murder since 2008, but I'm dyslexic, so only trust me so far. Oh, maybe I heard incorrectly. Maybe it was 2008, or maybe it was since 8 years. I don't know. It was one, I think it was the interview that the mayor gave in the documentary. After clearing the home, I briefly interviewed Hunter. Hunter said that he was at his apartment, redacted, and his girlfriend, his girlfriend E, received a phone call from one of the girls who lived at 1122 King Road. Hunter said that A was called by one of the residents who said they could not wake the female on the floor. Hunter said he came over to the home at approximately 11:55 hours. Hunter said he saw the female on the floor in the bedroom and did not see the male on the bed, who he identified as Ethan, before grabbing the knife. Hunter said he entered the bedroom and checked the female's pulse and found none. Hunter said he did not check Ethan and left the home. I thanked Hunter for talking with me and told him he can go stand with A, who was with the other residents in front of the home. I stood by the front door and started the crime scene log at around 12:15 p.m. Sergeant Gunnarsson relieved me for approximately 3 minutes so I can go get my gloves during my time at the front door. At approximately 3:02 hours, I was relieved by Officer Rosinski, who took possession of the crime scene log and returned to the station. This is number 2, 1, 2, 3, 51. I know, poor Hunter. Because initially, it seems like he saw Xana, and then he focused all his attention to Xana, and then he probably didn't notice Ethan maybe until later. That's rough, man, to find your friends in that condition. At approximately 4 p.m. on 11/13/22, Sergeant Blaker and I responded to 1122 King Road to assist with scene security processing. Upon my arrival, the ISP, so Idaho State Police forensic team, was on the scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. Officer Smith, one of the initial responding officers to the resident, advised he would walk me through the scene. Officer Smith and I entered. Hey, Siobhan, how are you doing today? Hello. How's your week been? Officer Smith and I entered 1122 King Road through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Upon entering, I observed a small bedroom on the west side of the bottom floor. The door was ajar, and I could see a bed with covers and several other miscellaneous personal items strewn about. The room did not appear to have been occupied by anyone, as I did not see any clothes inside. I followed Officer Smith down the hall where there was a small bathroom. Next to the small bathroom to the east was where I later learned was a utility closet. This closet had a pin code style lock and was secured. I wonder why they locked this. I looked into the bedroom on the east end of the bottom floor, which I later learned belonged to Bethany. The room had normal clothes and personal items about, but otherwise did not seem out of the ordinary. Oh my God, the text messages. Which text message are you talking about? Of course. Oh, sorry. When I see OFC, I think of course. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. The stairs ended in a small living room. There was a sectional style couch along the east and south wall of the room. There was also a small TV in a void in the northeast corner of the room. I also saw a black backpack. I also saw a black backpack on the floor just east of the top of the stairs. Officer Smith then directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later was Xana Kernodle's room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Kernodle's, laying on the floor. Kernodle was laying on her back with her feet facing the east and her head was facing west. Kernodle had her underwear on and a gray sweatshirt. There was a large amount of blood on the floor around Kernodle as well. I could see numerous wounds on Kernodle's arms, hands, face, which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Next to Kernodle on the west wall was a small white nightstand, which appeared to have been moved as it was pushed against the wall at an odd angle. There was blood on this nightstand in various locations. The bed in Kernodle's room was situated on the south wall of the bedroom, with the head of the bed appearing to be towards the west wall. I could see a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin, laying on his back in the bed with some type of blanket pulled over his midsection. Chapin's body was at an angle on the bed so that his head was up against the south wall and his feet were hanging off the bed on the north side. I could not clearly see the wounds to Chapin's head and neck area, but could see a very large amount of blood on the wall, on the bed, as well as what appeared to be blood splatter on the wall next to Chapin's head and neck. I also noticed 2 large cuts on the back of Chapin's legs. The wounds appeared to be deep into the tissue, but difficult to see due to Ethan's body position. I think this is the only officer who documented the description of Ethan's legs in their narrative. I don't think any of the other officers either didn't notice or either didn't write it down. So people are wondering, why would Ethan's legs be cut like that? It could just be, I don't know, like the more that I read about this case, the more I am leaning towards the possible incel theory with Brian Koberger. Because I think from what I read in the court documents, they weren't gonna go after motive. They weren't gonna talk about Brian, Koberger and his interactions with like other female students or female coworkers. They just weren't gonna go into that. So I just like discarded it completely. But from reading other documents, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe Brian Koberger, did have some weird thing going on with women and people that were in relationships. So I can see why you guys thought about that theory. So even after time, I still can't get over how all their lives are fine. I know. And then in 15 minutes, everything just shattered. It's so sad. I can't imagine how those affected ever heal. I feel so bad for the family members. And it just seemed like they just had a normal day. They're just out drinking. The roommates, the surviving roommates, their day was so intertwined with their friends that day. They were hanging out, they were drinking, they were getting ready together. By bedtime, they probably recapped their day, talked about what they're going to do the next day. Like it's fucking crazy. And then this shit happens. He can run with sliced muscles. But I also wonder if it's like a post-mortem thing. If that was done before or if it was just done afterwards as like a fuck you type of thing. Like you have a girlfriend, I don't know. Or like, look at this, like, Ethan. Like apparently Ethan's like really tall. He's like 6'4". Maybe attacking his leg was like symbolic of like, I don't know, his hatred towards Ethan, being a good looking guy, being able to get, a girlfriend, obviously. I don't know. I still need to get the two blondes straight matched up to... Wait, which one? I still need to get two blondes straight matched up to their names without checking. Oh, you're talking about Kaylee and Maddie? You think it was done afterwards? I always wonder how many people had I always wondered how so many people could had getting killed, but the more I heard on how drunk they were, it makes sense. Oh, you wonder how many people were so overkilled during this time? Yeah. I mean, I wonder if he targeted this area because he knew that these were young, drunk college students. It's the weekend. They're going to be partying, and that's why he decided to target this area because he was hoping that his victims would be completely drunk and not be able to defend themselves. Officer Smith then took me through the house and pointed out Dylan's bedroom, which was situated in the southeast side of the second floor of the house. Dylan's bedroom door opened to the kitchen area as well as the staircase which led to the third floor of the house. Upon my brief visual inspection, Dylan's room was disheveled but did not appear to have any blood or evidence of a struggle within. I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the third floor of the bedroom of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Gonzalez's room. This room appeared neat and picked up. The only thing of note was that the sheets on the bed were pulled back in a manner that suggested someone had been laying in the bed and then gotten out of it. Officer Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogan's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. As I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. The bed was situated along the north wall of the bedroom, and both females, later identified as Mogan and Gonzalez, were laying on their backs with their heads towards east and their feet towards the west, which was also the direction of the only door into the room. Both Gonzalez and Mogan had numerous visual stab wounds and were covered in a significant amount of blood. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogan's right side, which when viewed from the door. I remained in the room for a moment and then proceeded back outside. I remained on the scene and conducted several more thorough walkthroughs of the scene with the ISP forensic team, the Latah County coroner, and the Latah County prosecutor. I didn't know that. I mean, I guess it makes sense to get the prosecutor involved so early on in the case because they already know who's going to prosecute since it's just like a small town area. So it seems like prosecutor was already involved. They were already on the scene. I think Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings came to the scene pretty early on. 51, 90 we read. We could read about, let's see, there's one about Murphy. Oh, poor Murphy. Did you guys see Murphy has an Instagram that Kaylee's ex-boyfriend made for Murphy? Seems like Murphy's happy, living his best life. What is this? 125. Oh, Ooh, more small font to read. Hi, Kat. Hello. How are you? The police must have lost it when it eventually ended up on the third floor and saw this was even worse. I think Maddie's more of a white blonde, where Kaylee has darker, dirty blonde colored hair. Yeah, I think the pictures that I've seen, Maddie's blonde hair was more like brighter, in my opinion. Jack seemed to be a good doggy daddy. Yeah, I think Murphy has like over like 100K followers or something on Instagram. Murphy, poor boy, the goodest boy. On 11/13/2022, at approximately 12:05 hours, I arrived at 1122 King Road, referenced an unconscious subject. It was quickly determined the scene was likely a quadruple homicide based on our observations. When I arrived on the third floor to assess the scene, I noticed a medium-sized, curly-haired, tan dog on the bed inside the western third floor bedroom, later identified as Kaylee Gonzalez's room. The dog appeared timid, scared, and didn't react to our presence. Due to the chaos surrounding the scene, my initial concern was preserving the crime scene. As part of that process, I asked one of the officers to shut the door so the dog did not attempt to jump on the bed with any of the victims. After the area was cordoned off, the area was secure. Corporal Snyder began taking photos of the scene. At some point prior to the process, the dog moved from the bed to under the desk in Kaylee's room. Oh, poor doggo was so scared. There's a picture of Murphy under the Kaylee. Yeah, that was reported in the documents, but I haven't seen the crime. I haven't seen all the crime scene photos yet. I've seen the ones on like the YouTube thumbnails, and I feel like I didn't really see much. But yeah, I haven't seen the one with Murphy in it yet. Oh my gosh. You have to look close, but it is in the pictures they release. Is there a place where they have like the photos? Because so far I just see all the coverage on videos. So like I have to go through the videos and like pause through each one. But I haven't really seen. I've only seen like maybe like 4 or 5. After photos were completed, I asked LCSO's Deputy Olson to respond and assist by taking the dog to the Humane Society of the Palouse for safekeeping. I collected the dog from under the desk. The dog was timid and took some coaxing to move from under the desk, but it did not appear to have any obvious injuries or stains on its body or paws. Due to the amount of blood inside the bedrooms where the victims were located and the lack of blood on or around the dog, I don't believe the dog was on or around the victims. He was probably so scared. I walked the dog to the front door where Officer Warner was stationed and asked him to hold on to the dog until Deputy Olson arrived. A short time later, Deputy Olson arrived. I walked the dog from Officer Warner to Deputy Olson, who was standing on the street. At my request, Deputy Olson transported the dog to the Humane Society of Palouse. I asked Deputy Olson to write on the intake sheet for the Humane Society to not release the dog to anyone unless MPD gave approval first. Murphy! Hey Jane, how are you doing today? Hello. Rest in peace, Madison, Maddie Mae Mogan, Kaylee Jade Gonzalez, Anna Alexia Kernadle, and Ethan James Chapin. Yeah, I remember hearing, I don't know where we heard this, but I remember hearing that Ethan, didn't he work at a tulip farm at some point and he really liked tulips? So the family worked with the tulip farm and they like planted like tulips in like Ethan's favorite color or something like that. That always like stuck with me. Hey RP, hi Corey just joined and I want to hug Murphy. Oh, yeah, Murphy. Yeah, rest in peace and all my love and strength to the families. I think there's another document about Murphy. Maybe 132. Let's see. I don't think this one had that much of a descriptor, but 132. I think this is just them releasing Murphy to Kaylee's ex. And then the last one that we're going to cover, this is them meeting with the medical examiner. All right, guys, we have like a couple more documents. We're almost done. Yeah, the tulip farm. So anytime when I see tulips, I always think of that. November 16, 2022 at approximately 7:45 hours a.m. or p.m., not quite sure. Latah County Coroner Kathy Mabbitt and I attended the 4 autopsies for Xana Ethan, Madison, and Kaylee. So this is about like 3 days after the murders at Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office. The 4 autopsies were all performed by Dr. S. Gary Tolson, a detective with ISP, observed 3 of the autopsies. Colonel Mogan and Gonzalez, as he arrived after the autopsy for Chapin, was performed. So again, during the autopsies, they collected evidence. They got the swabs, get the DNA. They took the prints of all the victims. At the conclusion of the 4 autopsies, Dr. S met with Kathy Mabbitt, Gary Tolson, and myself and told us of the following. Ethan Chapin's fatal injury was from a stab wound under his left clavicle, which severed his subclavian vein and subclavian artery, and also his jugular vein was severed. Ethan only had sharp force injuries. Xana's Kernodle's fatal injuries were from 1 laceration in her right lung and 2 lacerations in her heart. Xana had 50 plus stab wounds, mostly defensive. Xana only had sharp force injuries. This is the first time that we heard about Xana's injuries because I think we heard that the 3 victims were stabbed and that Kaylee was stabbed as well. However, we started getting more details about Kaylee's injuries and that maybe Kaylee was targeted and that maybe, 2 weapons were used on Kaylee and all that stuff. And that Kaylee had like severe facial injuries, like I think like from a couple weeks ago. But this is the first time that we've heard from what happened with Xana. Because I just assumed that maybe Xana and Ethan were stabbed while they were sleeping. I assumed that maybe like Xana had her DoorDash order and then she like fell asleep afterwards. But it would make sense if she was still awake after, getting her DoorDash order and then hearing the whole commotion at the house. Hey, Northwest. Hey, thank you for the lurk. Thank you. I think Brian walked to the room and Murphy was in the bed with the girls. I mean, I would assume that Murphy was in the bed with the girls. And then when the whole commotion happened, Murphy could have ran into Kayla's room to hide, right? Because I would assume that he would want to sleep with where Kaylee was. Maddie Mogan's fatal injuries include a left lung laceration and a liver laceration. Maddie only had sharp force injuries. Kaylee's injuries, fatal injuries, included a left lung laceration, a liver laceration, 2 subdural bleeds, and a stab behind. Subdural, is subdural head related, or could subdural be anywhere on the body? And a stab behind her clavicle, which cut her subclavian artery and vein. Kaylee had signs of sharp force injuries. She also had asphyxial injuries. So I wonder if he tried to maybe like choke her out or something because she was like fighting back. And she also had blunt force injuries. Kaylee had 20 plus stab wounds. So that's why they believe that Kaylee had 2 different types of weapons that were used against her. Something that was sharp and then something that was blunt. But then I don't know if it was from me reading through the documents or talking to you guys, but the other conclusion was, what if he just used like the bottom end of the K-bar knife for the blunt force injuries also. Dr. S said that the weapon used was not serrated, it was single-edged and very sharp, and said a lot of force was used by the suspect. I will be uploading Dr. S's final autopsy reports to the case file when they are completed. And then we hear about the clothes that they were wearing when this happened. I thought this was kind of interesting. Kaylee was wearing a t-shirt, a Corner Club t-shirt that says nasty and inebriated. Your typical college student. I don't know. Just makes the whole thing even more like really sad. They're just normal people, man. All right. And I think we had some follow-up with the autopsy stuff where they got the I think they brought the K-bar knife over so the medical examiner can compare the K-bar knife with the injuries. Is this the one? Let's see, what is this one? 97. Oh, this is when they transported the victims over to the medical examiner's office. This is not the one I was looking for. Subdural refers to location below the dura mater, the outermost layer of the 3 membranes, meninges that cover the brain and spinal cord. Okay, that's why I was like thinking of the head area, but I guess subdural could also be along your spine area as well. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for looking it up. Xana fought like hell. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are thinking now from reading these documents. Xana was the only one that was like fully awake, I believe, which would make sense why Xana had the most injuries because she was awake, and she was the most aware of what was happening. Meeting with Spokane County Medical Examiner. Hey, Wigoo, how are you doing today? What's up? On June 7, 2023, I reached out to Dr. S, Chief Medical Examiner for the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office. Oh, God, my hair is like all crazy right now. Let me fix it. To arrange a meeting with the Latah County's prosecutors team. Dr. S stated that she could meet on June 28, 2023, which worked for the prosecuting team. I met with TS, MPD, evidence technician, and had items number 733, a K-bar knife, temporarily released to me so I could bring it to the meeting with Dr. S. I locked item number 733 into a temporary lockbox into MPD as our meeting was on the following day. On June 28, 2023, I removed item 788 from the lockbox at MPD detectives and brought it with me to Spokane. On June 28, 2023, at approximately 10:30 hours, myself, along with Bill Thompson, Ashley Jennings, so those are the prosecutors, Jeff Nye, I don't remember, and Ingrid Beatty met with Dr. S. I guess all of them maybe are from the prosecution's office. S at the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office. Dr. S had pre-selected several photos from each victim to go over with us so she can describe the shape of the weapon which would have caused the injuries. I removed the K-bar knife from the sealed package and showed it to Dr. S. Dr. S stated the shape, the size of the K-bar knife was consistent as being the weapon which could have caused the injuries of all the 4 victims. Doctors described how some of the wounds had 2 points on either end and how some wounds had a point on one end and a square shape on the other end. Dr. S explained how the K-bar knife could have created these wounds, depending on the depth of the injury. Dr. S explained the tip of the knife, having sharp edges on either side, would show a wound with the points on either end. Dr. S described a deeper wound would show a point on one side and a square on the other, and how it matched the shape of the knife blade, having the single sharp edge on one side and then a square edge on the other below the tip. Dr. S pointed out that some of the wounds had a mark that was consistent with the guard of the K-bar knife. So I wonder if that's like where maybe bruising would show. Dr. S described how the wounds could look different depending on the skin stretching, the dynamics of the situation at the time, and the angle or position the knife was in when it was inserted or removed, and how a victim was moving or not moving at the time. Doctors described some injuries depicted that the strength of the weapon itself and the force used would have been great. I think that was all that I was going to get into today. They did some x-rays on the victims as well, but I don't think there was anything significant reported on those. Let me see real quick. Yeah, x-rays were taken of Chapin, Cornudo, Mogan, and Gonzalez at the medical examiner's office. And this one, 256. I don't think there was anything else. They downloaded x-rays and they copied it to a DVD. Yeah, that's about it. So we don't know about the x-rays, but we just know that they were taken. I guess like the next stream, we'll just read the documents covering Brian Koberger's background. There's a lot, but there's a lot of documents, but I don't think we have to read the entirety of it. I think it's just like kind of like all over the place. Corgi, are you talking about the shirt that I'm wearing right now? This shirt right here? Because I actually have a pretty funny story about this shirt. Why did they lock the doors? Listen, I've grown up with people that didn't lock the doors, okay? If you live in a safe area, safe, neighborhood, and you assume bad things don't happen, people don't lock the doors. Like, some of my friends that I grew up with did not lock the doors at all, which is like mind-boggling to me because we always lock the doors. But, I don't know. I don't know if it's just a thing that we just did just because, I don't know. I mean, my family came from Thailand, so I guess maybe that's why. You don't want to be leaving your doors unlocked. But we, again, don't know if they left the doors unlocked and that's how Brian Koberger got in. Or if he, if he got in a way that's the reason why we don't know if they left the doors unlocked or if he broke in somehow and that's why they heard the firecracker noise and the sparkler thing. But I don't know. I feel like we would have heard more about the point of entry and how it looked like someone broke it in from some of the police reports. Maybe it wasn't in these reports that we got. But maybe they would say something like, oh, it looks like someone busted the door open or like, use a crowbar to crack open the window. But I don't know. I recognize it. I haven't seen it in so long. It's it's a corn shirt. It's corn. So my brother went to a vintage like store that sold band shirts, and he was like, "Oh, I think Corky listens to Corn." He got it for me. I was like, "Oh, thanks." I don't really listen to Corn, but I will now. But I mean, I like Corn. Ethan's foundation is beautiful. Wish I could see more photos of his smile. Yeah, there's not a lot of pictures of Ethan out there. But yeah, the picture that they took, the family photo with the orange background and everything, it's really pretty. The sliding door was left unlocked for anyone to get in. I think that's like one of the theories. I don't know if that was like a for sure thing that the sliding door was left unlocked. I did hear. I think I've read in some of the documents that they thought maybe the sliding door was left unlocked, or I don't know. Sliding doors I heard are easy to get in. I mean, you could probably just break it, you know, but to get in without breaking it, yeah, I don't know. I know that regular doors, like back in my day, I don't know if they still make doors like this, but like sometimes you can just slide it for bedroom doors probably. If you ever lock your bedroom door, you could probably just slide a credit card through it and just open it that way. I don't either. I've always liked to design though. I actually listened to their album recently. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I like Korn. Usually for me, it's like I'll hear music that I like, but I'll never really like care to see who the artist is. Korn is goated, see it a few times. Oh really? I want to see Metallica live, but I think that'll be too expensive and too crazy. But Metallica would be really cool to watch. That and like I don't know if System of a Down even does any like tours anymore. I think maybe they might do once in a while, but that'd be cool to watch. But yeah. Anyways, guys. So I think the next stream. So basically, just to explain to you guys what we're doing here, I made the videos about these documents. But for those of you guys who want to actually like go through each document and read the entire thing, I'm just basically going through and just reading it for you guys because we didn't do that in the videos just for time's sake. In the videos that I made, we just basically or I keep saying I one man team here. I just summarized I summarized the documents and then just read some of the excerpts. But for this stream, I'm just reading the whole thing for you guys. So I think next time when we do the stream, we'll cover Brian Koberger's background, his interview. We'll cover Brian Koberger. I don't know, like some of the school stuff. Dude, I wish we could get more documents of the school stuff. I don't know if we'll be able to. So I put in a, what's it called? The records requests to Moscow PD. And they're like, yeah, like, you know, based on like all the shit that you're requesting and the manpower it's going to take to generate this, it's going to be $20,000. So give us half of the money and then we'll see what we can do or something like that. I was like, bro. But the issue is that because so many different agencies are involved, you have to figure out who has what and all that stuff, which shouldn't be too hard. But I'm like, okay, so if I want to get for example, his interview, right? Because they recorded the interview. Do I get it through Moscow PD or do I get it through Pennsylvania? Because I think Moscow was the one that recorded it, but it was at Pennsylvania. Like, I don't know. It's like all over the place. So maybe we'll get some more documents or maybe I'll just like, I don't know. It seems very expensive. But I've always knew getting documents like this were going to be very expensive, but they're like 20 grand, which is like nothing, you know, for a law and crime court TV, it's like nothing to them. Like, okay, 20 grand, take it, give us everything. But I have to be more pointed when asking for for the documents. But I'm like, I don't even know if I can even get some of these documents because some of them are housed elsewhere. Like, for example, I know at the end of the day, some of the documents were sent over to Moscow PD. So, like, if documents were sent to them, could I still get the documents from them? Or do I have to get it from where the originator was? I don't know. Hi, Shanique. How are you doing today? Hello. How's it going? I feel frustrated as I have a little sister who lives alone. I'd given her a checklist to stay safe. Yeah, dude, I was telling my sister, get your pepper spray when you're walking the dogs, you know, have your security camera, all that stuff. Because you never know. You never know, man. But, I mean, stuff like this shouldn't be happening, right? It's just so crazy. All right, y'all. So that'll be a save for a different. Sometimes they do. I'm surprised creators don't pitch in together for these. Sometimes some creators will get together to like crowdfund for the documents. Like I've seen that done for like the Amber Heard stuff. Like the Johnny Depp v Amber Heard court docs. And then maybe I think Delphi. I think. Is it Andrea Burkhart? I think she's trying to crowdfund the documents for those to be released for Delphi. I think it's her. I could be wrong, or it could be someone else. But yeah, sometimes they will do that. Sometimes they do it with other creators, or sometimes they will do it with their community. But yeah, I don't know. They emailed me and said that this will expire a week after. I'm like, a week? You're gonna give me a week to figure out which documents I want? Like, oh my goodness. So I'm gonna have to put in another request in and then figure it out there. But I mean, honestly, all I wanted was just I wanted to get the transcript for his interview, even though it doesn't really reveal much. And then I was hoping to get some of the documents from the schools, but I don't think they're going to release those. You know, like the email chain when they're talking about Brian Koberger or Brian Koberger's communications with other people. I don't think those are going to be released, though. I think those are all like, you know, private stuff with the school. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll go through it again. But I think it was like the $20,000 thing. Like really scared me. I'm like, oh gosh. Also, I want to get like the body cam footage of their interactions with Brian Koberger. And that's about it, pretty much. Yeah, the school stuff, the interactions, and then I don't think I was planning on really getting anything else. Need a progress bar for that. A Groupon special. We got what? Brush your teeth. Yeah, brush your teeth, guys. Don't forget to brush your teeth. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's stream. Honestly, I just wanted to just go over these documents, and then we'll go over the Brian Koberger background stuff. And you know, the more that I read these, the better I get at it. So there's some hiccups. And honestly, like this font, I hate this font. It's so thin. It's hard to read. I hate it. I'm also really hungry. My stomach's growling right now. So I don't know what I'm going to do the next stream. Maybe tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Maybe we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do the Brian Koberger background stream. Yeah, because next week, my face is going to be jacked up. I don't know if I'm going to be out the entire week. I probably will be. Last time when they did the thing on my face, dude, it was like scabby, bloody, bruised. It was wild. I was going to stream with just my face, you know, to scare you guys, but I think it'll be a little too scary for you guys. That font makes you think I'm in trouble. Yeah, right? All right, guys. So I will see you guys. I will see you guys, I think tomorrow. Yeah, I think we'll see you guys tomorrow. Unless something pops up. But yeah, Shiro is out of his code now. He had a ulcer in his eye that's finally healed like 6 weeks later. It was so stubborn. It wasn't healing. And then they had to do this medical procedure where they like agitate the shit out of it and scrape his eyes off or something like that to get it to heal again. I don't know. It sounds really evasive, but he got numbing medication, as I was told. All right, guys. Well, anyways, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Go outside, get some fresh air, stay safe out there, you know, go hang with your loved ones. And thanks for being here. I hope tomorrow it will be less hot in my room and I will read these documents better. So I will see you guys tomorrow. If you guys don't want to listen to me reading these documents, I did summarize them in the videos that I've already created. They're already out there. So check out the videos. You guys want to do that instead. But if you want to, you know, read the documents with me, then I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.